Alright, Diablo 4 players, it's now time to do the Super Ball Lightning build guide, and I have to go ahead and start with the video with saying, if you do not have the Strike of Stormhorn unique, you cannot play this Super Ball Lightning. This is not like a build a title, I'm just calling it Super Ball Lightning. No, Super Ball Lightning is a brand new skill, so to speak, because it behaves differently. So, I want to go over the brand new unique first, because if you do not have this, you cannot play this build. But anyways, the Strike of Stormhorn is a new unique that came out in Season 7, and what it does that's special here, instead of getting your Ball Lightnings to cast twice, which normally with any build you get like Fireball builds, you do Fireball twice. So you want to get Ball Lightning cast twice, but it converts it into a Super Ball Lightning. So with the Super Ball Lightning, what does that do? On this item though, by the way, you want to masterwork the chance for Ball Lightning projectiles to cast twice, and you want to roll a greater affix on that Ball Lightning. Now if you don't happen to have a greater affix, it's fine. I'm playing it in the gameplay without it and without triple masterworking, but that's the thing that you definitely want to max out, as that is part of the build. But that essentially converts your Ball Lightning into a Super Ball Lightning. So what does it do? Well, reading it where the little star is over here, it says Ball Lightning splashes on impact for 100x increased damage. It also stuns enemies for 1 second if it reaches its maximum range. But on top of that, the Super Ball Lightnings are bigger, they deal 125x increased damage and have a higher lucky hit chance, and they also increase the stun duration to 3 seconds. There is a multiplier with technically stun with the build that you can get inside of the Ball Lightning. However, the mana cost is very, very high. If you can take it, it's technically better for damage, but most people, including myself, it's just not realistic to keep on spamming Ball Lightning, because again, you're just going to be out of resource if you take that node. But there is something to mention with it. Another thing I want to mention is you cannot have 100% of these Super Ball Lightnings. It's impossible. Even if you get triple masterwork on a greater affix on your Strike of Stormhorn, it only goes up to 47.3. And if you also get the perfect god roll on your sword over here, you cannot get that to be at basically 100% when you add them both combined. This only goes up to 38. So realistically, I just got to give you guys expectations. It's really hard to get this build up and running at maximum potential, but even if you got it to maximum potential, it is nowhere near the best build in the game. That's reserved for the Necromancer, but it's still technically a pretty fun build. Just in case any of you guys want to try something new, this is definitely considered off meta. And in fact, I actually like this spinning Ball Lightning build personally better. I will also link that down below, but I wanted to make this build guide for you guys, including also just trying it out myself, because it's a brand new build and I like checking out everything in Diablo 4 for like new builds. But that's something to go ahead and mention. You definitely have to have this, otherwise, again, the build won't work. So, now that we have that out of the way, in case you guys wanted to build it, let's go over the build guide and kind of how it plays and all the skills, the skill tree, and all the gear. So, for starters, this is what I would recommend you guys to play. We're going to be running Ice Armor. This is going to facilitate a non-lightning skill, plus it just gives you a bunch of bonuses. Just activate this pretty much whenever it is up. You can keep it up 100% of the time. And then we play, of course, Ball Lightning. Ball Lightning is our source of damage. And then we can run Unstable Currents that generate all of these little like extra projectiles that will give us extra regen and other bonuses. And then we just equip Arc Lash because it is a lightning skill, which will give us essentially more damage. We don't push this button at all. Instead, if you want to, you can opt to play Frostblades. If you want to go ahead and push the button, that's fine too. And then we also run Flame Shield to activate our fire for Tal Rashas, and then on top of that, it does give us some extra survivability. And then Teleport because, well, it's Teleport. You want this in every single build for Sorc. And then for the enhancements over here on the enchantments, you're going to be playing Lightning Spear as well as Ice Blades. You can also run Frostbolts. That's another option. It's kind of up in the air over here, to be honest. These are just activated to specifically gain extra mana regen, because it's pretty mana hungry for a build. So as far as the gear, this is what we are going to be wanting to run. Now in the helm slot, there's actually two different options. You can play Air of Perdition, or in the gameplay in the background, I'm running the Harlequin. Harlequin will give you more survivability. This will give you more damage. It's up to you on what you want. Harlequin also helps out with a little bit of cooldown reduction, but for the most part, this is going to be your big damage dealer. But at the end of the day, this build isn't really meant to do crazy high pit pushes. If you want to do a 150, well, the Sorc simply just can't do it, regardless of what build you're playing. But this would be better if you want to go a little bit higher in the pit with this build, but I wouldn't say this is a pit pushing build. It's kind of like open world content T4. That's kind of where this build excels. Then you can run the Shroud of False Death or the Raiment of the Infinite. Both of those are great options. And then we're going to be running in our glove category. We can either run Fist of Fate or Aspect of Shredding Blades over here. We want ranks to core skills. You cannot get ranks to Ball Lightning over here. That's something important to mention. And if you've played my previous Ball Lightning build, there's only a few changes in this build. It's specifically the unique, but that's like one of the awesome things with this build is you can play the ranged Ball Lightning or you can play the close Ball Lightning build. And then we're running to bolts just because it helps out with a little bit of resources, plus it gives you extra damage on pants, and if you want to swap this out, by all means, go for it if you want. And then we are running the Gravitational Aspect in our boots. You can also run Esus, that's another great option, but Gravitational Aspect will make it so once you cast a certain amount of Ball Lightnings, the next one's going to suck up all the enemies and then do another set of damage that scales with Ball Lightning. And then we are going to be running Conceited Aspect over here, so ideally if we can run a sword, that's good, but it's really not that big of a deal. The thing that's most important here is just getting all of the offensive rolls to be Shock, Critical Strike, Chance, or Damage. You definitely want to get near 100% crit in this build. So if you don't run Arrow Perdition, you may want to get that Shock, Critical Strike, Chance, or the Critical Strike damage, specifically with Shock, Critical Strike damage. So there's kind of two options here as far as that goes. And then for our amulet, we're going to be throwing Storm Swell over here, which will give us a bigger amount of damage over here. And then if we can, try to get like attack speed and or intelligence, those are great, or any of the passes that would give you damage. And then we can also run in the resource category, the Unstable Currents cooldown. You can also just get regular cooldown reduction as any of the rolls, but specifically getting that up 100% of the time can really help out because you get all these little bonuses here. And then Ring of the Starless Skies to help out with resource costs, as it is pretty heavy on resources. And then we run the Tal Rasha's Ring, just like every single build, and then we can activate it with Flame Shield. We also have the Frost Shield or the Ice Armor over here, so basically and then all of the Ball Lightning is obviously lightning, so we can fulfill all the requirements. Getting cooldown reduction is good over here. And then also we are going to be running, of course, the Strike of Stormhorn, which I already mentioned, the chance for Ball Lightnings to cast twice. I put a few other notes. If you want to run like other optional swaps, you can go for it. For the runes, I'm running Igni Vex, so we can get plus ranks to a bunch of the skills, which helps out with our ultimate as well as Ball Lightning. I really like this one. And then I decided to go with Tam and Zek over here, which helps out with reducing our cooldown of our ultimate because we want that up most of the time. But if you want to run something else here, you can run Ohm for even more damage, that's fine. And then as far as the Witchcraft power goes, for Season 7, we're running the Cycle, Hex Specialization, Shaken Soul, Hex of Shattering, Ore of Siphoning, and Soul Harvest. So the way it works is you want to get close because, well, on top of this, with Soul Harvest, you also technically want to get the bonuses with affecting the enemies with like a hex, so then you get the extra crit and stuff and extra damage. It's really good. So all of these kind of add up to make it more of a melee experience in terms of like where you should be playing. Even though like the build was kind of meant for like ranged Ball Lightning, you have to get within, you know, short range for all these things to activate if you want them to. If you want to swap to other things, by all means go for it, but objectively it's just going to give you more numbers here if you play within small range. Well, it's not like directly melee, but it's that little like aura around your character. You can see it in the gameplay here. And the reason why we play a bunch of the growth and decay ones is because we need 3 of them to actually get Friend of the Bog. So we're going to be running Friend of the Bog here. We're also going to be running this over here called Elder Sigil, which again, you have to affect the enemies with hexes. So that's why we got to play close. This is going to give you more damage with Mastery. So Mastery and a core skill is tied to specifically the Ball Lightning. And then we also have the Hungering Void, but you can run any other defensive one if you want. This one just pulls in the enemies, which I kind of like because, well, it's kind of just good because then you have like these double pull action. I kind of like it. So as far as the other gems though, you can run the Emeralds here. You can run Topaz if you don't happen to have these gems yet. But these gems really help out with specifically armor. If you don't reach the armor cap, you may need to swap out to Bolts, or if you run Harlequin, you're going to be good on armor, or you can get it as one of the rolls on your amulet, or you can roll it as one of the tempers. As far as the skill tree goes, let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger over here, so you guys can see it a little bit better. Shout out to my mobile viewers. All right, so again, Art Class, you just need to progress. You don't really need any of these. Extra mana is good, but specifically getting Elemental Dominance is kind of the most important thing over there. And then you can put more points into Teleport for more cooldown reduction, but just getting extra damage reduction, basically all this set of damage and damage reductions for Ice armor, though, you want the shimmering because you want to have this up 100% of the time for one of our buffs. If you want to put the bonus to summon ice blades, that's fine. It's up to you if you want to do that. But we basically are just using it for primordial binding, which for every single summon we have, and you can see the buffs over here. Usually it's about 10, it's 9 right now, but it's really high up there. And the reason why we run this is specifically for the mana regen, and it gives us more movement speed, so it makes the build kind of feel a little bit more smooth. And then over here, Inner Flames actually got buffed in Season 7. It's not just based off of the Pyro skills, it's just increased damage while healthy, and pretty much this build is like super tanky. And then we're going to be running Ball Lightning. We want to take Invigorating Conduit over here. And then we're going to be running the one where casting a Ball Lightning spawns Crackling Energy, plus getting the Shroud of False Death will give us, I believe, 16 mana per one that we collect, which is great. And then on top of that, if you do happen to have the mana, like if you have J mana roll on, let's say, your like mana regen onto your boots, and you happen to have it maybe in your chest piece, by all means, you could, in theory, go for this, but it's really hard to upkeep the ability to spam Ball Lightnings without picking up the Crackling Energy. It just costs too much resources. Now, going into the cold stuff over here, surprising, all these just kind of work. As long as we have a Frost skill, we just get increased damage, we get more damage to vulnerable enemies, and we just do extra damage to chilled and frozen. On some of the pieces of gear, like on our gloves and our boots, we can get like a chance to freeze. So that's how we would get this bonus. So that's how we receive those. If you want to put more points in the Unstable Currents, that's fine, but we just use it for the extra attack speed. There's also the Crackling Energy, but there's a lot of things where, like, if you crit enemy, you start ramping up in damage. It's like small. Honestly, you can forget this one if you want to, but none of these are really that bad. You have a chance to stun, and then this is the one that I'd say is worth it because you crit quite often in this build. And then we also run Enlightenment for our key passive over here. And then moving on to the Paragon board. So we're going to be starting off with Adept because it's going to make our Ball Lightnings even bigger because the Mastery skills have 30% increased area, and again, you get bigger area. It's the Super Ball Lightning. And then we move on to Fundamental Release and Unleash over here. Again, it helps us out with a little bit of mana. Then we go into Frigid Fate with Tactician, which is going to be able to max us out. Just get vulnerable maybe on one piece of gear if you really need to reach it, but here we're just here for specifically all of the bonuses after using a defensive skill, which we cast the ice armor quite frequently. Then we move into Ceaseless Conduit and we get Destruction over here. This one is all about like well, you have Crackling Energy, but it's it gets to be increased. You just get free damage, even though it's kind of for Crackling Energy, but it doesn't really matter because it's your skills deal 10% increase damage here, and then it could go up to 60x, which is quite a big number. And then we go into Searing Heat. I know it says like it's supposed to be about fire over here because its Pyromancy skills have 12% increased crit. That's the fire part. The rest of it is direct damage. It can deal 10x of your crit strike damage. So that's why we stack a bunch of crit strike damage everywhere that we can. But it's specifically getting this up to 60%, so you get x60 on your crits, and you do want to try to receive 100% crit. That's why I was saying like Era Perdition is probably objectively going to be one of the better choices, but if you don't happen to have it, right now I'm just running the Harlequin. That is going to help you out quite a bit for damage. But and then we're getting Exploit here, so we get more damage on the vulnerable, and we apply vulnerability with the powers. But yeah, that's a build guide for Super Ball Lightning. If there's any ways to improve the build, let me know down below, but honestly this is just kind of more so for off meta / open world content, but I still had fun playing it. I'll be honest, it was probably tested out at World Tier 4. Both of the variants of Ball Lightning, by the way, if you're wondering, like, is this one better or the like Spinning Ball Lightning, I would say 100% Spinning Ball Lightning is a lot smoother. The Spinning Ball Lightning has this a new ability attached to it, which allows you to cast it while moving, so that one feels smoother. This one is like pause attack, but if you get enough attack speed, which you definitely want with Ball Lightning anyways, the build will feel a little bit smoother, but it's still a fun build, and honestly it feels very powerful, but it is not even near like, let's say, the Necromancer Blood Wave or Cataclysm Druid, where you can literally walk and one-shot pretty much everything. But it still feels like a pretty solid build. Like, it feels like a fair build in the game that's like top tier, but in terms of it being like broken levels and like Cataclysm and stuff, again, don't expect those sort of results. It's more so kind of fun, and who knows, maybe later it'll get buffed, because they really buffed up Ball Lightning in so many different ways, and they've made 2 new uniques, and I was expecting it to be like the top tier build, as it was a fan favorite in Season 2, but again, the Spinning Ball Lightning build will also be linked down below. Check that one out as well if you want to build this one and then transition to the other one, or vice versa. You get kind of 2 builds in one. They play definitely a lot differently, but you need to get close anyways to activate the effect, so at that point, yeah, that's why I'm recommending the spinning one. But Again, I want to give you guys variety here because I like playing all the builds in Diablo 4. But that's going to go ahead and wrap up the build guide. If you guys enjoyed it, drop a like. If you're new here, subscribe to the bell if you want to see more. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. And also, the planner will be linked in the pin as well as link in the bio. Peace out.